What work environments are best for neurodivergent people? It's not a specific industry. It depends on the unwritten rules that they endorse. And it's hard to suss this out because a lot of people who endorse these unwritten rules just see them as normal and the way things are. Based on my research on the unwritten rules of work for neurodivergence in the working class, I would say ideal environments for neurodivergence are places with clear communication expectations, good workplace boundaries with friendships and anti-bullying, places with clear hierarchies and that really care about what they say the mission of the organization is and the quality of the work. There are signals right off the bat in the hiring if there are unwritten rules. The interview questions say a lot, for example. If they don't ask you any behavioral questions for any examples, and they're asking things like, so how do you communicate? Or are you a good communicator? They're not going to be good communicators. They're assuming that you know all the unwritten rules on how you're supposed to interview and give them a behavioral example no matter how they ask it. So that's going to be a red flag. I've also made several videos on questions you can ask people when you're interviewing them. I'm not going to recount all of them here, but neurodivergent people take very seriously the mission of the organization that they work with because they assume that's what I'm here to do, and they focus a lot on task performance. So ideally, we do better in places that want people who are really good at achieving that mission. So you can ask your interviewer, what changes have you implemented to help you meet your mission better? Tell me about a time you've had to course correct to meet mission. And notice their body language and their voice when they respond. Do they seem flustered or are they excited? Ask them how they assess performance. I was always startled how few people could actually answer this question or were like, oh, it's just who you know, you're not going to do well there. They're like, oh, we give people the individual benefit of the doubt, so we just have conversations. That's not a neurodivergent friendly place. That's not a friendly place for most people, actually, because a lot of biases and stereotypes and nepotism is going to come into play there. Firsthand experience with that. I think one of the best things you can do when looking for a neurodivergent friendly environment is finding a place that's anti-bullying because that's such a problem. Look for people who don't just have a generic we support all people thing in their job post. Look for ones that actually have anti-bullying policies. In the US, that's rare. You can ask them how they enforce it. All of this is a risk to ask in an interview, but it's if you're trying to weed them out so that you don't end up in this situation, it is a fair question. You can also read reviews on like Glassdoor and such on if people talk about these issues. And above all, I think a neurodivergent frustration is you don't understand what your boss actually values, and that may be different than what they're telling you. So you can ask them what's really important to you. And notice that when you're on the job, because you may see something that you're like, this isn't efficient. Why are we doing it? And they may have a reason for it, but they may not be transparent about it. And so ask from the start, what do you really value? And something that might be a good opportunity is looking for roles that give you a sense of how the organization works from a cross-sectional standpoint. This is role like being chief of staff or an executive assistant, for example, and that can give you more insight into what they really care about, no matter what they say on their website. Notice how none of the examples I give favor neurodivergent people over neurotypicals. Everyone benefits from clear communication, knowing who the boss is, and knowing what the whole goal of the organization is. So you need to find a place that releases the part of their mind that making it better for one group, like neurodivergence, makes it worse inherently for everybody else. That's not the case. Neurotypicals also need to know what the hell is going on. In my upcoming book, I'm going to go through each unwritten rule for neurodivergence, the working class, and race and gender intersections. You can get a free copy of an early release chapter on my website, drkalschmidt.com.